Hello and welcome back to the Canaries Chat channel. It is a very warm summer's day. It's maybe a bit too warm, but we are coming back to you with another video. This time it is a championship prediction video. Yes, it's early on, but we thought we'd jump in and do a quick prediction video with current signings and where teams are currently at. We'll probably do one a bit closer to the start of the season as well. There's been plenty of incomings and outgoings over multiple different clubs. And there's maybe a few predictions that you'll probably disagree with, but let's get into it, see who maybe is underperforming, who's overperforming. But in 24th, we have Charlton. So Nathan Jones has brought them up. They've lost, I believe it's Thierry Small has left, and he's one of their better players last year. But in regards to kind of the gap between League One and the Championship, obviously Birmingham have signed or going to spend money. Wrexham are going to spend money. It'll drag a few teams in from the Championship last year into that relegation battle yet again. But I just think, Charlton just unfortunately won't have the firing power to keep them in the league. So we've got Charlton 24th. We then have Hull City 23rd. So obviously Ruben Sells has left, gone to Sheffield United. Their form, well, actually I think last year was built to be a relatively positive year from what I remember at the start, before the season started. Obviously it did not end like that. I can only see him still going in a downwards trajectory. They don't fill me full of confidence on that form will change. And I think it could be a really tough season for Hull City. And it's not looking positive. From an outside in, it's not looking positive. We've got Blackburn, which is a very similar reason again to Hull. So their form kind of tailed off towards the end of the season. They brought in Ishmael, who got a last minute kind of point against us. But in regards to that, there was nothing else really to say. Cool, they're really going to step up and elevate themselves this year. In regards to Blackburn, maybe a bit more of a surprise than what other people probably have got them around that mid-table spot. But for me, they just haven't got the players to be there. And unless big things change in the transfer window, I can see them going down. We then have Oxford. So Oxford, Kieran Brown's had his 1 year extension triggered, which is a great bit of business for them. Gary Rowett obviously still their manager. I just think 3 teams below them have potentially either worse players or worse managers. And I also just think that actually with a few more shrewd signings, they could be further up the league. This kind of 24th to like 19th, 18th, I think is really tricky. And I can definitely see some teams being drawn into relegation battles. So we've got Oxford 21st, but I wouldn't be too surprised if they finish slightly above that. We then have Portsmouth in 20th, so I think they'll stay up. It's important they keep hold of players like Murphy and Bishop. Again, I don't actually think there'll be too much danger. I like the football they were playing last year, I think maybe I'm slightly biased because of the game that they delivered at our place. But I do think they should be all right. A few more shrewd signings, a little bit similar to Oxford. I think both those teams have now really got an opportunity to cement themselves in the league. And I think this is definitely potentially the year to do it. I think, yes, Birmingham, Wrexham will perform well, but I think there's a lot of teams last year that are being dragged into this kind of relegation battle, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see them all in and around it again next year. But we have got Portsmouth sitting 20th. 19th, and this is dependent on certain kind of external factors, but I have got Sheffield Wednesday 19th. Obviously everything that's going on at the moment with their manager Danny Roll, he's meant to be going, but the owners won't let him go. The owners in general absolutely ruining that club, in my opinion. He is really like not nice to overly see another championship club have that kind of ownership where it doesn't really seem like they care, and they're just kind of willing to hang on until things get even worse. So hopefully that's sorted sooner rather than later. Obviously, there's the ex-owner of Crystal Palace who had majority shares in Crystal Palace, or large shares, should I say, in Crystal Palace, who had to sell them because of the Champions League European competition rules where multiple ownerships can't have clubs in there, or should I say owners can't have multiple clubs in there, should I say, sorry. And he is apparently now looking to invest potentially in Sheffield Wednesday. So that could sort the issue out, but as it stands, I think it's going to be a really tough season for him. So I've got them 19th. We then have in 18th Stoke. So as much as I think Mark Robins is a very good manager, I think Stoke is a sinking ship that is virtually impossible to save at the moment. I do just see things potentially getting bad to worse. Mark Robins maybe leaving around Christmas time, and then being in a relegation scrap. As I said, I think all these teams that I've mentioned so far will certainly make it entertaining, to keep an eye on the bottom half of the table. But I do think this year there's going to be a lot of teams involved in those bottom three places, and I see Stoke as no exception to that. We then have in 17th Derby, just signed Carlton Morris, which is a brilliant signing. John Eustace, I think, will carry on that upward trajectory. Obviously, he came in, he kept him up, and now it's just a case of moving them in the right direction. Not expecting anything groundbreaking from them this year. They'll probably flirt with that bottom three briefly, and then I imagine the quality will start paying off with John Eustace and Carlton Morris. So we've got them finishing 17th. 60, we have Wrexham, so big step up from League One to the Championship. I think they will try and recruit well. They'll recruit by not spending a lot of money, but spending a lot on wages, getting ex-Premier League players that have maybe ran out of contract to come join them, join the project. It's obviously very exciting times. Their promotions from kind of non-league to League Two to League One, now to the Championship. I think it'd be wrong for people to potentially judge them on that, purely because I think if you're a club in that non-league position, you had owners that came and do what they've done, you'd absolutely love it. So in my opinion, I've got no people sometimes call them Disney FC, and there's a bit of kind of animosity towards it. It does come across a little bit jealous in my opinion, but got them 16th. I think that they'll settle in relatively well. It's a good season to then start building foundations. On a very similar line, we've got Birmingham in 15th. The step up is huge. There's a reason they went down in the first place. They're obviously in a better position now financially, and kind of club-wise, they're in a better position. There's good atmosphere around there. I do, again, similar to Wrexham, people want that ownership that are willing to put money in, seem to care about the club. So absolutely, I think they should be coming in with very kind of positive hopes. But I do have seen a lot of Birmingham City fans, well, I think they think it'll be easier than what they're thinking. So it's a really tricky one because they could recruit well. They've recruited okay so far, but it's nothing groundbreaking. Obviously, they've still got Stansfield, who is a good striker. Is he going to be the striker that could take them to like the top six? Potentially not, but I think they'll have a solid season. They'll use it as a building season, and then potentially next year, when they've then reinvested even more money, will be when their kind of the promotion push starts happening. Lots of talk that they'll do in Ipswich, and just in my opinion, I don't personally see it, but we'll wait and see. That's more of a probably controversial take, as I've seen a lot of people have them around the top six or so. But yeah, in my opinion, they'll stay up comfortably, use it as a building season, and then really focus on it next year. We then have Preston, made some smart signings. So Thierry Small from Charlton is one of them, and he really, I just think they've kind of recruited within the English pyramids. They're known quantities on what they're getting. Nothing groundbreaking, but I do think they'll push on from where they were last year. They did start slipping last year, but I do think they've recruited well enough that they should kind of be able to spend that middle of the championship. Then have Watford. So new managers come in, fallen out with one of their best players, Loser, and he's apparently handled a transfer request. I just don't think they've got enough at the moment to really push on. The manager's an unknown quantity. I think if they would have kept Cleverly, I could see them being in a higher position, and their kind of manager merry-go-round has worked in the past, but it hasn't the last kind of couple of years, and I think they should have just kept with Cleverly. I do think the manager being an unknown quantity, potentially losing, well, he was their player of the season, then I think it's going to be tough. So we've got Watford in the 13th, we've got Swansea in 12th. So they sacked Williams, and Alan Sheehan took over as a substitute manager, or interim manager, should I say, and he did outstandingly well, really turned the form tables around for them. They've employed him full time. I expect him to kind of pick up where he left off. I'm not expecting top 6 performances, but I am expecting a lot solid and a lot more consistent, and a few smart signings. They could flirt with, I reckon, the top 10, but for now I'm saying 12th for Swansea. QPR, so they've got Julian Stefan in, very experienced manager, worked with some hugely talented players like Rafinha, Camavinga, players along those lines. Doué, I believe he also worked with. So I think he's got a really kind of huge resume, and it's a great pull for QPR in my opinion. They also just signed Poku from Peterborough, which everyone was after. Another great bit of business. They really struggled last year, and then obviously they had everything with Cifuentes going on gardening leave early, and then he still hasn't got a job from what I'm aware of. He was obviously highly tipped with the West Brom job, which Ryan Mason got. But yeah, I'm seeing a very more solid season. I think 11th would be a really good season for them to then start building for next year, but I'm not expecting that top 6 push just yet. Got Millwall. I think they'll just try and be as steady as possible. They had a good season last year, flirted with that top 6. I can't maybe see that happening again with the teams that are currently in the Championship, but I think they'll be very steady eddies, middle of the Championship. Will cause headaches. We've got that first game of the season, so after I've said this, we will inevitably lose. But I do think, very middle of the road. We then get into the slightly more tastier ones, the ones that could be pushing for that promotion. So we've got Bristol. So Gerhard Struber has come in, replacing Liam Manning after we've taken him. If they keep Knight, a few more smart signings. Obviously, Naki Wells has left, so they'll need probably another striker brought in. I don't see them beating 6th. I know 6th was like their best finish, I think, in the Championship. Whereas I don't see them expanding on that. However, I do think they'll have a solid season and they'll be in and around the top 6. We then have Middlesbrough, Rob Edwards, no signing as of yet. Again, I'm not expecting kind of amazing things, but they do have very good players like Tommy Conway, Azaz as well. Like they've got good players in there that can really push towards that top 6. Is Rob Edwards the man? Well, he's proven that he can do it with Luton. He's also proven that he can't do it with Luton. So it's a very tricky one, but I've got them sitting as 8th, and I think that's relatively fair, in my opinion, for Middlesbrough. We then have 7th, Norwich. I think we'll just miss out. Liam Manning, I think, will be a great signing. We've made some very smart signings with our change in direction. So obviously it was a very heavily youth-based last year. We're now signing kind of players in their prime. New goalkeeper, 2 new centre-backs, one of them Harry Darling, absolute animal for Swansea. So if we can get that same performances out of him, that'll really elevate us. I do think we'll have an improved season on last year, but I do think that we'll just be shy of the playoffs, no matter what I'm saying on Twitter, which will probably be that we'll win the league. West Brom signed Nat Phillips, Ryan Mason, I think some people think obviously newish to management, yes, but he has had already that pressure of managing at Tottenham before in the past. They've got some really good players. I think they'll be well in the fight for top six, and I can just see them nipping us to the top six in the last couple of weeks of the league. Then have Sheffield United. So Wilder's gone. Sells has come in. They've lose a couple of players. They'll bring in. I'm sure they'll strengthen. They've naturally got a good squad already. I don't think they've got as good a squad as any of the top three that I've got, which have all come down from the Premier League. But I do think that naturally, with the kind of size of that club, with the players they've got, I can't see them finishing outside the top six. So fifth for them. Got Coventry finishing fourth. So Lampard, I think, will just carry on moving them in the right direction. I think if he would have been there or had that form for the whole season last year, instead of them starting with Robbins, I think they would have finished third. I think is what the prediction said. So I think they're in a really good position to push on. I believe that Lampard can be that one that can take him to the next level, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see him in the playoff final. But the top three teams for me are relatively settled. So we've got Coventry finishing fourth, got Leicester third. That's without their points deduction. Again, it's just around the players they've already got. I think their squad is naturally better than most of the Championship because they've just come down from the Premier League. The chances are they'll maybe lose one or two players. Obviously lost Vardy as well, but I do think third without the points deduction is fair for Leicester. I think the other two will elevate their game coming back into the Championship, whereas I think Leicester may just take a few more weeks to get into the running of things. Second is Ipswich, so lost to Lap. Probably lose Hutchinson. He just scored in the final of the under-21 Euros. That's going to attract a lot of interest. Whether I think they were worried about kind of Brentford or Everton coming in. Ipswich fans seem to now be worried that even bigger club will come in for them. So really, I think Hutchinson probably is on his way out. Tuanzebe's left, which isn't like a hugely kind of big name to leave, but it is a gap that it does have to be filled. But yeah, most importantly, they've kept McKenna. I think McKenna will kind of look to just bounce back as soon as possible. It hurts to say, but I just think the Ipswich squad is too strong. And they've signed very good Championship players for the Premier League. It didn't work, but they're still very good Championship players. Having said that, I said these exact words about Luton last year, and look what happened there. But I do think they'll get automatic promotion. And top of the list, Southampton will still. They've not lost many players so far. They'll sign astutely. Dibbling's still there, so if he stays, that's unbelievable work from them. And I couldn't have Ipswich finishing top. So Southampton will be the number one spot for me. So leave a comment down below. I'm sure there's a lot to disagree with. Leave a comment on what you disagree with, maybe what you agree with. Maybe there's just one of you out there that goes, you know what, you've absolutely nailed it. But make sure to leave a like as well, subscribe. We're trying to hit that 2,000 mark by the round start of the season. It's a huge ask. Probably not doable, but if you don't ask, you don't get. So yeah, make sure to subscribe, and we will see you in the next video.